Okay, so this is November 2 Golf Bravo Romeo, and we're going to look at some all-mode QRP radios. On the left you'll see the LNR Precision LD5. In the middle is the Elecraft KX3, and on the right is the Yaesu FT8117. The Yaesu 817 radio. You've probably seen quite a few videos on this radio already on YouTube. It's a very popular radio for QRP and SOTA operation, being an all-mode, all-band radio. Covers everything from 440 FM through to 160, 5 watts output. Very well known radio, been around for many years. This is the second form of the radio. It's the ND version, which includes the walk bands, and I've also added the BHI noise reduction board into this radio, which made a significant improvement in the audio quality of the radio when operating in SOTA. It's a physically very small radio. Has two antenna outputs, one at the rear and one at the front, and you can select the antenna output that you wish to use through the menu structure. So that's a very simple thing to control. A lot of the controls are in the menus, but once you have the radio set up, there's really not too much that you have to mess with when you're in the field and actually using the radio, and a lot of the controls that you would want to use during operation are available through a shortcut menu, which is controlled by a quick tap on this button here, the F button right here. A longer hold of this button for 1 second or more will allow you to enter the more detailed setup type menus, which you would use in preparing the radio, but the general day-to-day use controls are under a single tap of this button here. I have my radio set up so that the select button will adjust the tuning frequency in 1 kHz steps, which is really useful, and then you can also use this button here for fine tuning. I tend to use the radio as a SOTA activator, so once I've got the frequency dialed in that I'm using and I'm spotted on, I will lock the frequency using the lock key here, and then there's really no need to change it again unless I actually have to QSY for some particular reason. The BHI DSP is a very useful add-on to this radio, and really brings it into the Okay, so powering the radio up. Obviously I've got nothing connected here, but the radio still powers up because it has a small battery built into the radio. Not particularly useful battery. It's a very small capacity. It's an older style nickel metal hydride. Doesn't have a large amount of stored energy. You tend to use external battery with this radio if you're going to be transmitting for any large amount of time. So output power control on the radio can be done using you touch the F button, you come into the easy menu or the operational menu, I think it best described that, and you get into this setting here where it says power metering, and from that point, quick touch of that, and you can now change the output power using the A button here. You'll see the little graphic at the bottom starts to change. The radio will only do 5 watts output when the battery voltage is above a certain level, and that's another reason for using an external battery pack to get the full power out of the radio. So you get 5 watts, 2.5 watts, 1 watt and a half watt control from the radio. That's a half a watt right there. The other control on this particular menu setting which is useful is this one. You can either display as you transmit ALC, SWR, modulation, or the output power. Obviously, if you're not sure what's going on with your antenna, you want to put it on the SWR function, and the bar graph will display at the bottom here to give you an indication of the SWR with your antenna system. It's not super accurate, it doesn't give you a number, but it gives you enough information that you can make some changes if you need to. The BHI DSP is also very easy to use. When you turn the radio on, the red light will generally be on. Hold the button down, and at that point you'll hear a number of beeps. Those number of beeps correspond to the DSP level within either, I believe it's a 4 or an 8-step DSP control. I generally just have it on 2 beeps. 2 beeps makes such a huge amount of difference that it's good enough, and it is a very effective add-on to this wonderful little radio. Controls on the side, your mic goes in here, speakers and phones go in here. I tend to use a headset with this radio with a push to talk, so it plugs into the mic socket and the speaker socket, and I use a push to talk when I'm on mountainside. A really good little radio. Been a favorite of mine. I've had this one for a couple of years now. It's been on 20 plus SOTA activations. Very robust. I have actually dropped it a couple of times, nothing major, just bounced it off my rucksack. But it's been outside in the rain and snow and ice. Never had any problems with it at 0 Fahrenheit, which is around -18 for you Celsius people, and just works rock solid, nice and loud. The speaker here is nice and loud, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this radio for anybody that's planning on doing QRP, SOTA, or anything outdoors. Then these are all modes. Okay, so the LNR Precision LD5 is an SDR radio. It's extremely lightweight. It doesn't have an internal battery, which keeps the weight down significantly. I haven't opened this box up, but I can tell you that this, and I'll pull the specs up later and show them on screen, but this radio is very light. It's extremely easy to use. All the buttons that you're going to need, or all the functions that you're going to need in actually operating the radio, pretty much available from the front panel with this array of buttons that you have here. The main tuning control is nice and precise, and this is the volume control here. Another great feature of the LD5 radio, not something you need so much for QRP operation, or at least I need so much for QRP operation, but it does have a cat control USB input here, and I've been able to use this radio for Whisper, and it was very easy to set up and plug into a Windows 10 PC and get onto the Whisper software and use as a Whisper transmission station. The one issue that I did have with the radio was I was not able to get the transmit power down below 1 watt, which I would have liked to be able to do. But apart from that, no issues using the radio as a Whisper station for receive and transmit, and it was extremely easy to set up. I don't really know what else to say about this radio. It is only a 5-band radio though. It's not an all-mode radio like the 817 is, but the bands that it covers traditionally other bands that you would use if you were going to use the radio as a SOTA type radio for 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters out in the woods. So this makes this radio a very good choice if you're going to use it as an outdoor radio for QRP. It does do 10 watts output, by the way, which is nice. But I don't see any downsides to purchasing this radio. It's about $600. A new 817 will probably cost you a little bit more than that, but you could pick up a used 817 for much less than that. Probably a used 817 is about $400. An LNR is $600 new. It's quite a nice radio, but it's somewhat surpassed by the KX3, and let's move on to that radio now. So here's the Elecraft KX3. This radio is an SDR radio with knobs, and it is a very, very good radio. In terms of its performance against the 817 with the BHI noise reduction, I have found it to be about equal. There are two reasons why you would like this radio, I believe. The first reason is it has an internal battery, which is significant enough to be actually usable. I have Eneloop batteries installed in this guy, which are about 2.5 amp hour battery, which is enough to do. I've never actually depleted the batteries on an activation, so it's easily enough to do an hour's transmit and receive at 5 watts for a typical SOTA application. The other beauty of this radio over the 817 is it has a built-in ATU. So whatever antenna you decide to deploy in the field, you're pretty much going to be able to tune it with the Elecraft ATU. And I've used this antenna with long wires and also with my basic link dipole that I use for SOTA. So a very, very good choice for SOTA. I would say that taking a $1,500 radio into the woods is a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience until you've done it a few times. And whereas I tend to put the 817 into a very simple protective sleeve, this guy goes into its own Plano waterproof box, and I probably would not take it on me if I knew that the activation was going to involve rainstorms or some serious inclement weather. Everything on this radio is top class except one thing. The audio quality out of this ditty little speaker here is pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. And the one thing that you need to be prepared for when you operate this radio is to plug in a set of headphones, and then you'll find that you've got plenty of audio power available for headphones, and the radio is very, very nice to use. Additionally, the radio has some other great features. It has a voice keyer on it, so that you can pre-program your CQ call and set the keyer off to just keep repeating until someone answers your call. It's a little bit of a luxury, but it's a nice, pleasant surprise to have that kind of luxury when you're sitting in the woods, and I've used it a couple of times, so very, very useful. The filters on the radio are also very, very good, and while you're not in particularly a noisy environment when you're out in the woods, they do offer some good controls. If someone happens to creep in alongside you and they're overstepping the 3 kilohertz bandwidth, you can control that to a certain extent, which is worth having. So there you go, 3 wonderful QRP radios for use on SOTA or general QRP fun. In terms of the relative order of these 3 radios, if you're going to be carrying the radio anywhere and using it, generally in a SOTA type situation, I think the best bang for your money is still the 817. It's a very solidly built radio. It just works. It has all the controls that you could possibly need. The LNR LD5 is a good radio. It's got some limitations, but it's nice and lightweight, and it certainly does enough for what you need for SOTA and QRP and real QRP, where you're getting away from your vehicle. The KX3 radio is a very expensive radio. It's also a very nice radio, but it's really got a lot of features that are beyond the call of basic SOTA operation, and I'd say it's a luxury. It's a luxury item, and if you just wanted to get out there and get into QRP operation and SOTA, you're probably better off with a used 817 and install the BHI DSP, and you'll be off and running and in a good place, and spend some money on some good lithium-ion batteries for extended operation. Okay, there's a review of 3 wonderful QRP rigs.